Let me show you how easy it is to use the large language models in the Azure AI Foundry. Let's get started. First, you need to navigate to portal.azure.com and log in. Then you go up to search and search for Azure AI Foundry and pick that one. Here we need to create a resource group. So I click on create a resource. The resource group is just a collection of resources that share the same lifecycle permissions and policy. Let's take it one step at a time. We will need to pick a subscription. I'll just pick my current Azure subscription. And we will also create a resource group. Feel free to use one of your existing ones, but since this is a demo, I want to create a new. So I say create new, and then we give it a name. Let's give it a name that follows the Azure best practices. So I say RG resource group, and let's give it a name. This will be the AI platform because we are going to use the AI features. The environment, that is a demo, and I will use the West Europe. So I'll say WEU, and then I click OK. Feel free to name it like you want. I'll also want to give this resource a name. And here I want to say AI Foundry, LLM, demo, and again, Western EU. So here in the region, I'll click the drop down and I will take the West Europe because that's where I live. So go pick that one. We also have a project down here. A project is like a container inside your AI Foundry. And then here we can group models, set permissions, manage limits, and do logging. So please do not name that one first project. We want to create a name so it's easy to see what this project does, especially when we want to move ahead. So I say this is a project, AI Foundry, demo. And then I hit next. Here in the network, I can see who can send API calls to my model. Should I allow the entire internet? Or should I restrict it so only certain IP addresses or ranges can access it? And don't worry, there will of course be a key on it, so it's not like it will just be wide open. So I'll choose the entire internet, and that's also because it requires the least setup. Then I click next. Again, here in identity, I can choose a system assigned identity. Then Azure creates it automatically for us, so we can securely connect to other Azure services without password secrets, etc. Here we will just leave it. Encryption. Our data is encrypted automatically. That's one of the benefits by using Azure. If you want more control, we can also choose to add our own encryption key. I'll click next. Tags. Here we have labels, so we can easily find the resources in Azure. I recommend just have a few basic ones. I will say env for environment. This will be a demo. And who is the owner? That is Jensen. Org, which is me. That's it. And we can click next. Then our resource is ready. If I want to create it, I simply just click create here. And this will usually take 2 minutes, so just have patience. That's it. Our deployment is complete. Then we can go to the resource. Here we have the overview. And before we can start making these API requests, we need to set up and deploy models. We will do that in the Azure AI Foundry portal, so go click that one. This will open up the AI Foundry portal. First, here we are on the overview page. We have our API key. We have some documentation for the APIs. Also have some tutorials here and documentation. What you want to do first is to click the model catalog. Here we can choose between a lot of models from different vendors. What they have in common is that they are hosted here in the Azure. This means that we can have the data security by Microsoft. So now DeepSeek is hosted here with Microsoft and not with a Chinese company. This is great. First of all, we need to find a model. I can choose these leaderboards. Here I can also browse the leaderboards. We can have different models. We can see the quality, the safety, the cost, throughput. We can also browse these leaderboards, and down here we can see that we have 90 different models. Let's set up 2 models today. We will set up GPT-4o as a basic one, and then we will also look at the Grok tree from Elon Musk or from the X. You can use DeepSeek or whatever you prefer. We also have the ones from Meta and Mistral. So I could scroll down here and find GPT-4o. As you can see, we have a lot here. Or I can go up here and simply just search for GPT-4o. Here we have the Omni model, and we have a lot of other ones. We take just the default here. We can use this model, but before we do that, we have some documentation down here, and I can also see the pricing over to the right. If I go click that one, then we have the pricing. I can scroll down. Let me scroll down and find GPT-4o. Here we have it. We can see that the newest one cost $2.5. Let me explain this. This is per 1 million token. 1 million token is approximately 750,000 words. So this is a lot. So these are the things that we send to the API that cost 2.5 per 750,000 words. And when we get information back from the API, that is the response, that costs a little more, $10. But 1 million tokens is a lot. Let us close the pricing again and say we want to use this model. Here we can give it a name. I'll just leave it with GPT-4o, as this is the model's name. I can also choose deployment type. This is where I want my data to be. If I choose the global standard, here I get fast global access and little to actually no setup. I can also choose the data zone standard. Here our data is processed within our region, for example, the European Union. And I can also choose standard. That is similar to global, but it's just stay in our selected Azure region. Let's just go with global, as this require no setup. What I can do here is to click customize. Here I can take a decision. Do I want to have this model upgraded once a new version becomes available? Fine, that is actually really nice. I can also set a rate limit. Here we can set a rate limit for number of requests and actually number of tokens sent. This is fine as well. I also have a content filter. Here we keep our deployment safe, for example, harmful or inappropriate content, violence, hate, self-harm, everything we don't want to see in our responses. We can have it blocked by this content filter. Let's just leave it by default. Then we can hit deploy. Now our model is deployed. We can see the API documentation over here. And what I want to do now is to open it in Playground so we can play a little with it before we choose to deploy it. So what you can do is either click open in Playground here, or you can click Playgrounds over here and say to try the chat Playground. Here you should see your model. And if I click this drop down, you will also see that this is the only model that we will have at the moment. We will add another model later in this video. So this is nice. Here we can give the model instructions and context. I can also choose to have it generated with Copilot down here. Right now you can see the default is you are an AI assistant that helps people find information. let's create a classification assistant. This one should look at emails to our support and classify them in 3 groups: complaint, inquiry, or praise. This is like a normal one. This is using natural language processing. So let's give it a simple prompt. You are a classification assistant. Your task is to read an email and determine which of the following categories is best fits: complaint, inquiry, or praise. Only return the category name. This is to say, I only want one of these 3 words. I don't want an explanation, and I also do not explain your choice. I just want that little word. What I can do here, when I'm satisfied with it, is to press apply changes. Yes, we update the system message, and now this is the message that our model will create answers from. Let's go try to test it. So down here I can say something like, hello, I'm disappointed with the delay in delivery. This is the second time it has happened like this. And then you see that this is a complaint. Our model correctly categorizes this as a complaint. Let's move a little bit further. We can also add data. This is, we can build RAG. So here we can add a data source that could be Azure Blob, a website, upload files, and a few other options. Let's not do it here, but it would be fine to add some context about ourselves here in the add data. Then we have the parameters. We have them down here. So let's look at what these does, and let us also choose which we should include and what value we should give them. So the past message included. We set this to 1. We set this to 1 because each email from our customers are independent. We don't want the AI to use previous inputs or answers, and this will give us more clean and predictable results. If we hide this, let's say we set it to 10, then it will include the last 10 user responses, as you can see here. So you will see, if we set it to 10, it will use 5 user queries and the 5 last system responses. We don't want to do that. Each email is independent. Then I can also say, this is the max response. So how long should the answer from the model be? Since this is only 1 word, let's just set it to 10. That is actually also too much, but there's no reason to have it bigger. The temperature. So how much creative freedom, how much randomness do we want to give the answer? We want to have it completely strict. So if I choose a low temperature, this means that the model will choose the most likely word. If I increase the temperature all the way up to 1, then it will answer more freely and have more creativity. We don't want that here, since we just want to classify it. I can set the temperature to 0. Then I can also have the top P. Since we set the temperature to 0, this doesn't matter. But here we can tell the model how many possible words the AI should pick from. But again, this is it will not use this value. Then we have the stop sequence. So here we can say, for example, after a word or a symbol, then it should stop, but we don't need it here because we only have a 1-word response. Then we have the frequency penalty. This one reduces the repeated words in longer text, but again, we don't need it here because the answer is only 1 word. Then we have the presence penalty. Here it stops the AI from using new ideas or topics. Again, we don't need it. We just have 3 categories, and they should always be allowed. So this is it. These are the settings that we will go with. We changed a little bit since we tested the model. Feel free to change it again. Let's do like this, and let's give it 3 prompts. So we could have a hello, I am disappointed, complaint, that is fine. And then we can say hi. Oh, I would like to know when my order is delivered. Give me an update. This is an inquiry. I can choose to clear the context here, but this should be fine. And then you can say, thank you for the fast delivery and great service. Everything worked well. Oh, that was a spelling mistake here. But here you see that our model is able to categorize these things really well. So this was the first model. We can also choose to deploy another model, so we can switch between them if we want that. To do so, we have a few options. I can go up here to create a new deployment, or I can again go to the model catalog. Here we just need to go back to the models. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. That will really help me a lot and make my channel go out to more so I can make more videos. Thank you. And then I go down to collections. If I click here, I can see that the models, I can group them into categories so they're easier to find. For example, Meta, Mistral, or let's choose XAI today. And we will go with the Grok 3 Mini. Since we only need to do email classification, we just choose a fast model, which is cheap, and this is great enough for email classification in fact, more than great. Let's go click that. This looks like the one from before. You can also check the pricing. We choose to use this model. We agree and proceed. Again, here we can choose the deployment type. We can also give it another name and customize it. Let's just go with the default settings. Here we can open it in Playground. And once we do that, we can see that GPT-4o opens up. But now we have the Grok 3 Mini. If I click that, you will see that this give the model instructions, the system prompt is copied to here, so we can test it. I can also see, if I go to parameters, that we have a few less parameters. We only have 3 to choose from here. The max completion tokens, how many tokens do we want to allow? Let's take 100, that is the minimum. The temperature, the lowest one is 0.01. So let's do like this. The top P doesn't really matter. So I'll just do like this, but we will not include it. Let's go over here and let's see what's happening and why we might want to change a parameter. Because if I do this, how do I return an item? Then this model is a chain of thought. This means that it actually is able to reason with itself. And then you can see that the limit of 100 characters is reached. Don't worry, this is so cheap. But then that means that we want to increase this to, for example, 2000. And that is because both the chain of thought summary, the chain of thought is included, and our word. So let's copy it here. Let's do a new one. And let's try. Now you will see that the one it returns is the inquiry. This one is also included in the response. We will not use it. And we will be able to isolate this in the JSON response. With that said, now we're going to implement these 2 models in solutions. First, I recommend that you always go to, for example, Postman. Here we can test the APIs. Especially if this is your first time. Let's set both models up so we can access them through a REST API call. Again, really straightforward. We will start by using the GPT-4o and then we will use the Grok. So this is Postman. If you want to use Postman, it's completely free. Just go to postman.com, set up a free account, log in, and you will get here. We'll create a workspace. A workspace is, as it says, a workspace where we can do API testing related to a certain topic, which is our demo here. So you go up to workspace and then you say create workspace. This will just be a blank workspace. I click next. Then we can give it a name. I will call this one AI Foundry Demo API calls or something like that. And I'll choose to create it. Then to test the GPT-4o, I go up here to new and say HTTP. First of all these details you can find in the documentation. Now I'll just give it to you because then we can speed things a little bit up. The method is post. Here we need to give some data to the model, so I set it to post. Then we need an endpoint or a URL. This is to tell where to send our request to, which in this case is to the Azure AI Foundry. So if I go back to my model here, the easiest thing is to go up to View Code. And if you have one of the OpenAI models, I think it's easier to scroll down, then you can see that this is the endpoint. Simply just copy it, go back here and say Control V to paste it in. Then we need a few headers. So I go up here. The first thing we need is an API key to authenticate that this is actually us. And you should not share this. I shared in this video, but I will delete this AI Foundry resource after the video before it gets published, but never share this. To find the API key, you go up here, click the key authentication and scroll all the way down. Here it is. I can choose to view it or simply just copy it. Let's go back here and paste it in. Then I also need to say, well, this comes in a JSON format. And what you say here is to pick the content type and pick the application JSON, write it, or choose the dropdown. Then we also need to say, what do we want to send to the model? Here we need a body. So I go to body and pick raw, and this should be in a JSON format. That's because that is what the API accepts. Here I have a JSON body. If I go down here, I paste it in. So remember that even though it could appear that in the playground that we set all of this up, this was just to test. If I need to include, for example, the max tokens, let me go back and show you here. We set that down here. Then you need to set it. And there's also a few of the other ones which we choose not to include, but I included. Actually, we will do this. So the temperature is 0, and then the max tokens is 10. So here you can see that we have the system message. That is our instructions, which we created. And I also have the task here. How do I return an item? That should be the prompt from the user. If I want to test it, I simply just go up to send. And you will see, first of all, that the content filters are false, which is great. There's no self-harm or hate speech here. If I go down, then you can see that in the message, in the content, we have the answer here. In the content, we have the inquiry. So when our system needs to pass this JSON, when we get the response back, this is where we're going to look. So this works fine. And what you might want to do if you want to get back here, that is to go up and save. Here, let's just call this one GPT-4o, maybe AI Foundry, like this. And what should the collection be called? New collection, and I can just say our collection or something like that. Maybe give it a better name if you want that. Now in this workspace, we can find this. Then we can always get back to it if we want to copy paste it once it works here. So I usually just make it to work here in Postman, and then I want to implement it in the systems. Let's also make the Grok tree to work. It's again fairly easy. So here we will do a new HTTP. This will also be post, and actually I think what is easier is to click the three dots, click duplicate, because we're going to use a few of these things. So click the three dots here where it says copy, rename, and let's delete the copy and say Grok tree mini like this. We will need to change a few of these things. Let me first go to the body. Remember, we had a few different parameters. It looks almost the same, but we had set the max tokens to 2000 and the temperature was 0.01, which were the lowest. Otherwise, it will be the same. And this is nice because it's followed the same API standard, so it's easy to shift between the models. Then I just need to work with my URL up here. I can also find that in the documentation, but it is fairly easy. Let's change this to Grok tree mini, and then we also need to change the API version. Let's go back here. Let's go to the Grok tree mini. We have it here. Let's go up to view code, and here we can see it. Here we have the model Grok tree mini. If you want to find the API version, then in this dropdown, pick the curl, and you can see here that we have a version called, and that is because you will need to use that in your request. So I mark this, say Control C to copy it, and then I will go back here. And we just do this. Then let's also test that this works. This is just Grammarly, another AI service. So once I send this, I want to again go down here and see that it correctly categorizes this as an inquiry. And we also have the reasoning with us. If we, for example, want to use that here, it will be of no use, but it's nice that this chain of thoughts is actually also given to us. The next video will show you how to implement this in actual solutions. Go visit it here.